The New Galactic Era. Space Voyages. Science fiction novel by Mariia, Obydenna. Chapter 6. Hydra. General Gartt, from the research base, was happy to see Roland, the head of the military expedition. "Roland, good to see you. Did you hear? Tet and Petersmith are waiting for you." Roland was overjoyed at the news. Tet, Petersmith, and Roland had spent 4 long years together in the flying fish constellation known as Volans, and had collected samples of plants and metals for the solar system. The team performed complex, painstaking work to refine data on the climate, the atmosphere's chemical composition, and the presence of intelligent life in the constellation. They performed an incredible amount of work and analyzed dozens of samples. Having heard about Tet and Petersmith, Roland was ready to get to the ends of the earth to see them. General Gartt looked at Roland. Gartt grinned. "If you want to see your friends, you'll have to get to the end of the world, the Hydra constellation." Hearing this news, Roland's first instinct was to laugh. It had to be a joke. He cannot believe that Tet and Petersmith were in this corner of the universe. He was well aware of the expedition map. The scientific laboratory was not conducting any military or scientific research in this area. General Gartt asked Roland to hurry up. "The planetary system of the star is located at a distance of about 1,500 light-years from Earth in the Hydra constellation. The main star is a red giant, which is 6.7 times more massive than our Sun. The star has a single planet orbiting it, and it was this planet that the pilot Biocrits lowered the Lumper starship with Tet and Petersmith. It is a very old planet. Its age equals the age of the Milky Way, about 9 billion years. It is also known as an eyeball planet. Why did these stupid creatures, Biocrits, choose the red-hot eyeball exoplanet as a place to rescue an intergalactic expedition? Even the main administration of Jupiter research had no answer. Biocrits landed Lumper on the eyeball exoplanet of a red star in Hydra. Here they are, the defects of Biocrits' minds and the thinking patterns in creatures with artificial intelligence." Gartt scowled. "It's hell. The Lumper crew has already survived a month in that roasting pit at the edge of the universe." "We need to hurry," the experienced pilot and general's assistant, Laparte, said. "For the crew, life inside a starship on a planet is physically demanding, considering the fact that the team has been traveling in space for a year and has been exposed to a host of dangers." Usually, the greatest threat to a starship's hull is space pirates and attacks by prolectors, asteroids with artificial, uncontrolled intelligence that inhabit the universe. Isolation, unbearable boredom, trance, depression, unforeseen emergencies, and all other sources of suffering were experienced by travelers in Hydra on a scorching planet. The crew of 5 members and 2 Biocrits waited for the rescue shuttle, fearing for their lives. They felt that this mission could be their last, and the starship nothing more than a steel coffin stranded on a blazing tomb planet in Hydra. The fact that the 2 Biocrits have every chance of waiting for rescue from Jupiter and the biological people may not return to their home planetary system worsened the psychological situation. Isn't this hell? Well, I'll try to learn a little more about the Hydra constellation. Among all the innovations of the age of Biocrits, one of the important inventions was OZ. It had all the features of an ideal brain. It was an information assistant with a mega memory and self-learning abilities. It quickly reacts, learns, and finds the necessary information for the inquirer in the interplanetary network and the intergalactic map of the universe. As soon as Roland said Hydra, OZ provided the information. Hydra is a cluster of galaxies located 1,500 light-years from the solar system. Hydra, the Earth's water serpent, is the largest constellation in the sky. It is located in the southern celestial hemisphere. The planet is composed primarily of liquid hydrogen, sulfur, helium, titanium, and other elements. This part of the universe is not of particular interest for Jupiter.
Thank you, OZ. And why does the constellation have that name? Many versions of the constellation's name exist. One ancient myth tells of a gigantic, many-headed creature spawned by a monster that was half woman, half snake. The Hydra had 9 heads, and one of them was immortal. Whenever one of the Hydra's heads was broken or cut off, 2 new heads grew in its place. The celestial Hydra is depicted with only 1 head, presumably immortal. Thank you, OZ. Roland tensed. Surprise and shock gripped him. When Roland learned of the disaster involving Laparte, the first thing that came to his mind was whether this was a new mission or whether the remote monitoring device, the portometer, and the intergalactic map of the universe had failed again. The galaxy has eyeball-shaped exoplanets that resemble the human eye. Since ancient times, people in the solar system have known about eyeball planets. These exoplanets have a day and a night side. They have an environment that can support life. One side always faces its star, while the other is in constant darkness. The side open to the star experiences endless daylight, while the opposite side is shrouded in eternal night. These planets were named before the robot age for their similarity to a human eyeball when viewed from space, with a bright center at a point facing the star and a darker surrounding region. The situation on the planet was extremely difficult and dangerous, even for a rescue mission. Roland asked General Gartt to give a detailed account of the expedition. How did Tet and Petersmith get there? The answer surprised him. The lumber starship. The guys got there by accident. As the answer echoed, Roland understood he had come dangerously close to grasping the mission's true intent and the reason they had landed on Hydra. He knew Tet and Petersmith very well. On the one hand, Roland felt a little relief at the very thought that this was not an important secret task of a scientific laboratory. But on the other hand, he also understood that the rescue expedition would be delayed, and the leadership would not waste the best people and technological equipment on rescuing the starship crew. Saving people wasn't the mission. It was beyond the competence of a scientific laboratory on Jupiter. The facility management doesn't even bother to go to a distant, unknown planet 1,500 light-years from the solar system, but their best employees are left in trouble. General Gartt added, "You, Roland, as always, my friend, are right. Indeed, it broke, but not the portometer, but the left engine of the starship. The guys were hunting for serapses. These creatures are in the cargo bay of the starship." Roland understood everything. Space safari. Hunting serapses is interesting. The experienced space wolf agreed to lead the rescue expedition because he understood it would be difficult to find a pilot mechanic who would volunteer to travel to Hydra. After an hour of negotiations with the heads of the scientific laboratory on Jupiter, all he could ask for was an interstellar rescue shuttle. The Ark ship was a supernova-powered shuttle for a rescue mission. General Gartt explained in detail, "Our facility will provide you and Laparte with a powerful supernova starship and a team of biocrits. You must beware of alien attacks known as prolector attacks. They are very aggressive." Gartt glanced at Roland. "Think you'll make it in time? The crew's already half cooked out there." "I can't promise, but I'll do everything to get them home. Thank you for the shuttle."
Before departure, Eliza, a scientist at the laboratory, explained the latest developments to Roland. The newest interstellar vehicle, the Ark ship, turned out to be an improved version of the old Spider shuttle. The Ark innovation is an interstellar rescue ship on which the crew travels through hyperspace via intergalactic tunnels from galaxy to galaxy at incredible speeds. The rescue shuttle can reach super high speeds in milliseconds. All transitions are completely flawless, and this vehicle can cover light years in a short time. Thousands of neighboring stars with newly discovered exoplanets and galaxies have become accessible thanks to supernova starships, such as the Ark starship. It is one of the few interstellar rescue shuttles to reach stars at a distance of more than 100 light-years from the solar system. When developing new systems, spacecraft, and shuttles like the Ark, it is very difficult to test everything in the laboratory due to the artificial intergalactic environment. It is impossible to test spacecraft under all the load factors simultaneously when they are used in hyperspace travel. Engineers on Jupiter often have to detect their inventions under different conditions simultaneously, then combine them using simulations to ensure safety. Many shuttles undergo durability testing in environments that approximate real-world conditions. The drawbacks in testing starships and shuttles in mixed environments explain why so many new systems fail on their first flight in real-world conditions. With insufficient time for testing, flying a new shuttle through real hyperspace increased the danger to Roland and Laparte. Using supernova starships and shuttles remains the riskiest form of intergalactic hyperspace travel, but rescuing friends was paramount. Roland was to fly with Laparte, an experienced military pilot, on an expedition to the Hydra constellation. There was 1 Earth hour before the start, and he decided to ask OZ about Laparte. "Hello, OZ. Who is Laparte?" OZ instantly provided information. Laparte is a soldier of the Intergalactic Battalion. 15 years ago, he graduated from the 7th level Intergalactic Academy and was invited to work in a scientific laboratory on Jupiter, where he was recognized as one of the best pilots. He spent most of his life in intergalactic expeditions, pilot and mechanic of intergalactic shuttles, starships, and cargo. A tall, thin, middle-aged man. His parents were pilots and visited the most remote corners of the universe. Laparte knows everything about space starships and developments of the military base. "Thank you," Roland interrupted. "That's right. Onward, Laparte." "Yes, with God," Laparte replied, smiling. The dangers of the eyeball planet in Hydra were climatic conditions, high surface temperature, and the presence of intelligent beings. It belonged to the class of eyeball-shaped exoplanets and had 2 sides, cold and hot. The day side of the eyeball planet receives constant sunlight, which can lead to extreme temperatures and potentially inhospitable conditions. In contrast, the night side can be much cooler, potentially promoting ice formation. This stark contrast creates a range of environments on a single planet, which is of great interest to scientists studying a planet's habitability and potential for life. Laparte asked Roland, "Can you imagine silicon brains in the creatures around you?" Silicon brains in creatures? How do they think? Roland thought with his convolutions and brain, which is 75% water, atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. Having considerable experience in intergalactic expeditions, Roland could not answer immediately. The information about the eyeball planet had a special mark, unverified. The intelligence OZ informed in a voice with a metallic tinge. An eyeball planet is inhabited by intelligent stones that have developed the 2nd-level intelligence and silicon-based grains. On Earth, silicon is an element of the 14th group, the 3rd period of the periodic table of chemical elements with atomic number 14, a nonmetal, the 2nd most abundant chemical element in the Earth's crust. Earthlings know little about smart stones, about their lives and possible threats to humans, but it is known for certain that they have a silicon-like brain. Hot eyeball planets are closer to their stars with regions of melted ice and likely provide water to support life. Cold eyeball planets are farther from their stars,
and their day sides may harbor oceans beneath a layer of ice. These varied conditions on hot and cold planets suggest that life can survive in such extreme environments, despite the difficulty of sustaining it over millions of years. Intergalactic movement in hyperspace through interstellar tunnels lasted a long time. Overcoming 1,500 light-years was not easy. The Ark starship came into time vortexes several times, and having passed through 2 black tunnels, emerged near a red star in the Hydra constellation. Finally, the rescue shuttle was above the surface of the eyeball planet. Laparte turned on the new protoplasmic screen and saw the surface. It was a dark red, sometimes red-black layer, with a vertical relief of white clouds. The surface resembled a crimson frying pan heated to boiling point, on which everything sizzled and melted. Roland activated the telescopic search rigs. The machines started working, analyzing the data. One result, another. A signal flickered on the screen. The search for 3 ultrasonic signals began. The crew supposed that cargo starship Laparte was on the northern side of the planet, at a short distance. As soon as Roland turned on the long-range locator, they immediately picked up the signal of the starship. He was incredibly happy. Having spent 15 years on intergalactic expeditions, Roland was well aware that the landing of a cargo starship on an unknown planet often ends tragically for all. The clear signal of the ultrasonic device pleased him immensely. The Ark starship, releasing a bright gas column and long landing gear, began to slowly descend onto the red-hot planet. On the surface, sensors showed a temperature of 673 degrees Celsius. The planet's temperature ranged from -400 degrees Celsius on the northern side to 2,700 degrees Celsius on the southern side. Roland and Laparte saw a wide lava lake, then a basalt plain stretched, apparently a desert. Then a volcano crater flashed by. There are many silicon volcanoes. Their lava is very viscous and contains silicon dioxide. The color of the hot lava was dark or black-red. The solidified lava formed black volcanic glass. A strange landscape. Canyons and lakes supposedly sculpted by lava look like giant frying pans with sulfur sizzling in them. Perhaps this is how Earthlings, followers of various religious movements, imagined hell? Roland tried to contact the expedition members and jumped on the spot when he heard a familiar voice on the transmitter. "Hello, this is Tet. We're alive. Save us!" The rescue shuttle landed gently on the eyeball planet near the cargo ship. The Ark starship resembled a huge beetle on long landing gear. It joined the side compartment of the cargo ship Laparte. Once inside, Roland shouted with joy, "Hello, friend! What are you doing here? Godspeed!" "How did you end up here?" Laparte asked, following him. "My crew and I," Tet explained, "were sleeping in an intergalactic bio-sleep pod with sleeping beauties when one of the engines failed. Those idiot bio-crits put us through hell. Petersmith and I decided to wait for rescue on the planet's surface rather than drift in space like trash. Then you would never have found us. This is not the best planet in the world, but we are still alive," added Petersmith, exhausted by the unbearable heat. "All the time I was saved by the thought that somewhere in the universe there was a shuttle racing, a metal box that would save us. I did not lose hope until the last moment. When I heard about you, I understood. Salvation will come. Let's wait." "Roland, don't scold me, my friend," Tet begged, hugging Roland. "We caught 12 Serapses and our engine broke. Have you ever seen sea urchins on Earth? A Serapse is a giant sea urchin made of titanium and sulfuric acid with needles that resemble metal spears. Serapses are the size of a small meteorite, 200 meters in diameter, but when exposed to cryoacid, space urchins shrink in size, hiding their sharp needles in their shell, and can fit in the cargo bay of a starship. OZ provided the following information. A Serapse is a creature of intergalactic origin from transition metals that are not found on planets near the solar system. The Serapse consists of metals, germanium, antimony, and a large group of so-called accessory rare earth metals, the most valuable of which are cerium, beryllium, niobium, yttrium, lithium, and hafnium. Serapses produce adipic and sulfuric acid, very fast and mobile. Created from thin titanium plates and very sharp needles up to 100 meters long.
Rare creatures, Serapses, live only in Hydra and cannot be found anywhere else. Tet and Petersmith made special devices, space traps, to hunt Serapses and set off for Hydra on a space safari. Hedgehog-like monsters lack developed intelligence. They are quite aggressive. According to the Intergalactic Encyclopedia, they are considered intelligent creatures reproducing very quickly in a vacuum. They change color from orange, reminiscent of space oranges that travel in interplanetary space, to crimson. On Earth, ripe tomatoes and pomegranates have this color. They feed on sulfur. In the event of danger, they form a dense acidic fog around themselves as a protective barrier. "Tet, how many did you catch?" Roland asked. "Damn you! I have 12 Presapses in my cargo hold. We flew quite close to the 13th one, and at that moment, one of our engines broke down. Biocrits dropped us onto a red-hot, eyeball-shaped planet. Or rather, our starship simply fell onto this red-hot frying pan. On the other hand, I'm not some piece of trash to travel through space with 12 Presapses in my starship. It would be much more difficult to catch us out of space than to find and land on a planet whose surface is heated to the temperature of cobalt sizzling." Roland pondered the story of the starship landing and how the Lumper crew ended up on the demonic planet. He suggested that only old-style biocrits with quantum intelligence could have chosen a place with a surface temperature of 2,700 degrees Celsius where intelligent beings with silicon brains fueled by titanium ore live. The primary task of the artificial brains is to save the crew and their luggage from disaster and inevitable death. A mistake of the supernova intelligence or an imperfection of biocrits? No answer. For a whole month, they spent roasting next to life with silicon brains that were trying to destroy and study humans at the same time. The solar system's data warehouse lacked information on which chemical compounds underpinned their species and what molecules the brains of these ungodly creatures were made of. The intelligent beings living on the planet resembled chimeras. Unseen monsters crawled to the starship, tried to destroy people, spraying some unknown substance around and throwing small fireballs at the starship. Petersmith knew well that many intergalactic expeditions had disappeared or died precisely because they chose to travel into outer space, trying to contact the rescue team in the solar system and to make contact with unknown creatures. Floating like trash in space for years is the worst thing that can happen in the event of a major cargo ship crash. But Lumper had descended into a veritable hell. It was scorching hot all around. The expedition was ravaged by sickness, its strength drained with every passing day. The creatures with silicon brains turned out to be very aggressive and influenced the team with gamma radiation. The chimeras sent powerful electromagnetic waves towards the starship. The crew felt a terrible headache, fear, bright light flashes, and overwhelming horror. The crew felt like they were going crazy. Their thoughts were confused. Voices in their heads in an unknown language kept them awake. The team's mental experiences ranged from a state of nightmare to joy. It seemed their brains were melting under this extraterrestrial influence. The air coolers were turned off to save energy. Hell! Unbearable! Under the influence of physical, psychological, and emotional influences, 2 members of the crew began to experience delirium. They saw strange creatures, whom they called the Caesars, and insisted they were from the nearest red star. The team felt the Caesars all the time and talked about their movements around the planet. They talked about nitrogen rains, black mirrors, and the Caesars' desire to help. Delusions? Truth? Petersmith trembled with a premonition of something unknown. "Finally! The Caesars are here! Rescue through the porthole!" He tried to open the starship's hatch and get out onto the surface of the red-hot planet, where everything was sizzling and boiling. Tet barely managed to stop him from imminent death. Roland and Laparte could neither confirm nor deny the delusions. Was it a transmission of thoughts at a distance, or a delusion, or reality, or some kind of delusion from being in a confined space for a long time, or psychological overload?
Petersmith and Tet said that before the engine failure, the expedition felt as if the spacecraft was being watched from afar, perhaps because it was near the planets. Well, that may not actually be the case, but the prevailing view among astronomers is that there are many eyeball planets floating in deep space that could harbor life. Looking like giant intergalactic eyeballs, these exoplanets have a distinctive appearance that is strikingly similar to an eyeball in space. More massive than Earth, lighter than Neptune, an eyeball planet can be made of rock, gas, or a mixture of both. Some have thick atmospheres, while others have thin atmospheres or none at all. Planets are about as large as Neptune, and unlike regular gas giants, have solid cores. This allows them to support a dense atmosphere and other chemicals needed for life.
Roland and Laparte were convinced that the eyeball-shaped planets are indeed similar to the human eye. They are extremely complex with many interacting parts. The human eye has 3 layers of tissue. The outer layer of the eye, the white of the eye, is the sclera. The middle layer is the choroid. It contains blood vessels that supply the retina with oxygen. The retina is the innermost layer. Similarly, the planets have several layers that make up the ball. Like the human eye, the planets have an iris. In the middle of the planet, a round hole that resembles the pupil of the human eye and also expands and contracts depending on how much light falls on the planet. The planets can see and have silicon brains. Tet asked Roland to hurry up with the engine repair. After a month on the scorching planet, the crew was unable to distinguish between fantasy and reality. All that was needed was to get off this planet as quickly as possible. After 2 long Earth days, the engine was repaired but remained partially functional. Laparte could not fix the plasma spray, so the engine needed additional repairs at Jupiter. The technical equipment could fail at any moment. Despite this, Roland decided to lift the starship off the planet and immediately move to the nearest intergalactic tunnel. The cargo ship and the shuttle silently rose into the air. A bright light appeared. Suddenly, it became very dark. There was blackness all around. The team left the terrible eyeball-shaped planet forever. Roland looked at the screen. Starlight flickered on the green screen, and trails of giant gas nebulae remained behind. This went on for a long time. After some time, the crew woke up from their intergalactic biosleep. Laparte turned on the ion retarder. Stars shone in the portholes. They merged into a silver trembling ball that hung in space to the left of the course of the starship and shuttle. It was so close to home. 2 weeks and 2 days later, Roland, Tet, Petersmith, and Laparte saw the solar system. The cargo ship and the rescue shuttle landed on Jupiter. Serapses were in the cargo bay. In frozen form, they were delivered to the scientific facility. Roland and Laparte brought back several samples of smart stones from the planet for research. Scientific minds were delighted with these rare creatures and smart stones from the red-hot planet. The team was saved, and with presents, the rescue mission was successfully completed. And they managed to return the miracle of technology, the cargo ship Lumper, from the devil's balls of the universe. In a month, it will be repaired. After a few Earth years, Roland thought back to his journey to the planet and the world of silicon creatures with a smile. It was an unexpected expedition to a remote corner of the universe from which he returned with incredible gifts for the research base. A trip to Hydra. All that Roland has left from the journey are memories and a small stone flower with silicon brains which stands on the laboratory table. Scientists confirm that the stone flower is safe for humans and poses no threat to biological creatures of the human intelligent species. But sometimes it seems to Roland that this strange blue-red creature moves and tries to communicate with its native home, the eyeball planet. It thinks with silicon convolutions in a language incomprehensible to Earthlings. The stones convey emotions, pain, anger, joy, and calmness. They change color with the weather. But can all these smart stones do? A stone flower with silicon intelligence at 27 degrees centigrade resembles a small black and blue pebble with crimson veins. Looking at this strange creature, Roland always caught himself thinking that it was conveying its thoughts about the red star and its distant red-hot eyeball planet. Sometimes it seems the stoneflower misses its red-hot native home with volcanoes and basalt lakes boiling with sulfur. Suddenly, General Gartt came on the line.
"What do you think of the silver coin?" he asked. "About the silver coin?" I asked. "Yes, we need you for a journey to the Silver Coin Galaxy, a spiral galaxy in the Sculptor constellation. This time, your journey is to the planet of 5 moons and 2 suns, to the planet of acid rain and a pink ocean."